My name is Sam Fedman. I was born January the 3rd, 1924. I was born at 1819 North 21st Street in Omaha, Nebraska. My mother's name was Lily Fedman, and my dad was Joseph. They both came from Russia, but they weren't married in Russia. They were married here in Omaha on a Christmas day. My dad worked for a scrap metal yard when he came to Omaha, and the only time he could get off was Christmas Day, so they got married Christmas Day. And it was a integrated neighborhood. There was a lot of Jewish people and there was a lot of black people there, but we all got along real good. There was, and I lived about half a block from the Blumkins family. Louis Blumkin, Francis, Babe, Sophie, and there was 3 girls and Louis. And I remember Louis and myself, we used to take our bikes and ride down to Lower Douglas Street, where his dad had a little pawn shop. He also sold clothes, and we'd deliver his sometimes his lunches there. And he was always reading the Daily Forward, Jewish Forward, and those were good times. And there was also the Lashinskys lived in the neighborhood, the Walks, and there was the Lefkowitzes, the Resnicks, the Zlotkins, and they're all probably all deceased now, but they were good times. And after I went to Cheder, the Jewish school, it was a little house on 20th and Clark Street, and it was a rabbi, not a rabbi, it was I forgot his name, by golly. He was pretty strict, but after the one on after when I went to on that little one on 20th Street, I went to the one at the Jewish Community Center, and it was pretty nice. I also went to a Jewish school on 26th and Charles, Mr. Rifkin. He was Benny Rifkin's grandpa. And we went, it was good. After I got through with Cheder, I had my bar mitzvah in a little, it was a house on 19th Street, Rikus. There was a little shul in Rikus's house. And I was about 13 years old then, and it was the good times. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of fun as kids. And I went to Kellam School. That was about 3/4 of a mile from my house. And there was a big empty lot there, and I used to, on the way over to the school, I always picked up a friend of mine, Louis Katz. I don't know. And he's now deceased. He was a good friend. He lived with his mother and his grandmother. His dad was a blacksmith. He had a blacksmith shop on right off of 24th and Clark Street. I used to go there once in a while and watch him shoe horses, and I think he was killed by a horse. He got kicked and he died later. And we used to always go to school, no matter rain, snow, or hail. We We had no days off. It's those days. No snow days. And I remember walking to school and that snow was that deep. But after I got out of grade school, I went to Tech High, and that's where I met my I met my wife. You remember the old projects down there? That's where I first met my wife, and we just casually, we never. But after she went to Tech High, and she graduated in 1941, and I went into the service, and after Pearl Harbor. After I got out of high school, I was in Pearl Harbor. It was in December 7th, and I enlisted in the Marine Corps January the 3rd, 1942. I was 18 years old then. That's a long time ago. And I remember there's only about 10 or 12 of us from Omaha. I was the only Jewish boy there. And they took us from Omaha by bus to Des Moines, Iowa, where they put us in a hotel overnight. And the next morning we were sworn in as Marines by a captain. And they put us aboard train, and they shipped us to San Diego, the Marine base in San Diego. And there we had our basic training, and it was rough. But I think I was the only Jewish guy in the whole outfit. But they were pretty nice people there. It was pretty rough training. After training, I was there January, February, March, April, May, and June. In July of that year of 42, about the middle of July, we started hearing rumors that we're shipping out. So when you hear a rumor, it's pretty true. And about a week later, we boarded ship. That's the first time I've ever been on a ship. And we were headed into South Pacific. And on the way to the island, the Guadalcanal, we stopped at the Fiji Islands. And we had maneuvers there. We didn't know where we were going. They didn't tell us. In fact, we were out to sea about 3 or 4 days before we hit Guadalcanal. They told us what the name of the island. I never heard of the island anyway. So it was the first offensive of the war during the first offensive, and it was a rough one. Guadalcanal. We hit the beach, and it wasn't too bad, but when we got inland, it was pretty bad. The Japs, they wouldn't give up. I used to sit in our foxholes at night. We used to hear them holler, "Tonight you die, Marine." They couldn't pronounce the R, Marine, and then Tokyo Rose would play popular American songs, and after we were there about over a month, it was getting pretty rough. We were running pretty low on food, because the Japanese had the harbor blocked. We couldn't get any supplies in. So I remember one time we were running to a Japanese rice dump, food dump, and I had a can of rice, and I was heating it up with a little can. It was a little, they call it little tabs, heat tabs, and the rice started to move. I think it was worms. The guy said, "You better eat it, that gives you good protein." It didn't taste too bad when you're hungry. But after Guadalcanal, we turned after we secured the island, and we lost a lot of men there. We turned it over to the Army, and we went to, they took us to Melbourne, Australia. It was really nice in Melbourne. They had a Jewish population there, but I wasn't there long enough. But at first we were camped on, right in town it was an old racetrack. And after that, they moved us out camp about 80 miles out of Melbourne, called Camp Balcombe. And we were in barracks, long barracks. They had steps on both ends. I think it was an old sheep ranch is what it was. And we were there on maneuvers, and it was pretty nice there. I think the food there wasn't too good. It was mostly mutton. Ugh, that mutton. They were great for mutton, and it used to leave like a funny tallow on my tongue. But we went on maneuvers there, and in order to get back to, once in a while they get leave, and so we used to catch the bus from Camp Balcombe to a little town called Frankston. And it was about 20, 30 miles to catch a train. We used to catch a train into Melbourne, and we'd have weekend liberty. And it was great. They had good food. Their specialty was steak and eggs. One time, and then they had coffee, but it wasn't very good. I guess it had some kind of it was kind of rationed, so they had, what do you call it, hickory or something. I couldn't stand it. So one day I asked the waitress, how about some cocoa? She says, cow with a bloody queen don't even cow. I guess that was rationed too. But it was really good. We were there in Melbourne for about 2 months. And after that, there was rumors we're shipping out. So they took us from Melbourne to an island called Pavulu, a godforsaken, crab-infested, snake-infested island. And they were on maneuvers there for their next invasion, which was Milne Bay, New Guinea. It was more of a mop-up operation, New Guinea. And they had the headhunters. They were nice. Some of them could speak English. They called it pidgin English. I guess they had missionaries there or something to teach them English. And they did a lot of work for us, and they helped us quite a bit. And we had those maneuvers on Milne Bay, New Guinea for our next campaign, which was Cape Gloucester, New Britain, which was a miserable. It rained every day and every night. My feet looked like hamburger there. I don't think I was ever dry. And the Japs were pretty well dug in there. And we finally took the island, and we were there for about 3 weeks, over 3 weeks. And I don't think it ever stopped raining there. And the steamy jungle, and I was always wet. But after we secured the island, they took us to a place, another island, for rest and recreation. And on that island, it was, I remember they had CB camp. They had real good food there. So once in a while, I'd me and my buddies sneak over to the thing. They thought we were CBs. We feed us till they found out that we weren't, associated with them. And that was island we were getting ready for another invasion called Peleliu, and that was a bad one. I hit the beach there. They were taking out our landing craft as fast as we could land them. The whole bay was floating. I finally hit the beach, and I didn't have a shovel. I lost it, and I was digging a hole and it sounded like a dog with my hands. See, you never do this, did you? And and I said, I got to get off the beach. They were bringing in shelling. The Japs were shelling the beach pretty bad. So I finally got off the beach with my buddy, and we were going inland. And I was about quite a ways from my buddy, and he was right behind me. And I heard this mortar shell. You can hear him shell coming, and I hit the deck. And the next thing I look back, my buddy, he was dead. After Peleliu, we went to another island, a staging island, for our next campaign. And our next campaign was to be Okinawa, and that was right on the doorstep of Japan. And I remember it was April the 1st. It was April 1st, 1945. It was Easter Sunday that morning. And they fed us real good. Some of them probably the last meal. And they gave us ammunition and stuff. They instructed us. They said the Japs were dug in pretty good, and they were. They were on that island for years digging holes and caves. And I remember I was climbing down a rope ladder into the assault boat, and we were going around and around, and they were, had smoke pots going. And finally we hit the beach, but it was nobody there to meet us. I thought, oh boy, this is going to be really something easy, Well, that night I dug in and on the beach, and I was watching the battleships out there, and these kamikaze planes were diving in. You've heard of the kamikaze? Diving into the ships, And I was on that beach all that night, and I thought we had no action. No Japs were there. But this was an Army, Navy, and Marine operation, all three outfits. It was a big operation, one of the biggest operations of the war. And the Army, I guess, got hit pretty bad down the beach, but we didn't have any action at all. And when we got inland, everything hit the fan. They were dug in so good into the caves. They've been digging in the caves for years. The only way to get them out was flamethrowers, And they wouldn't give up. They'd come out. They wouldn't surrender. And some of the families, the Okinawans, whole families committed suicide, jumped off the cliffs, because the Japs told them the Marines would torture them when they caught them, But finally, we were on that island. Oh, that was pretty fierce fighting. They wouldn't give up, the Japs. I think there were hardly any of them left after the war. So we were there on that island for over a month. It was finally secured. And the Okinawans, they were pretty nice after a while, after they found out we were going to hurt them, And after Okinawa, they took us. I was in Okinawa when they dropped the bomb. After Okinawa was secured, we dropped the hydrogen bomb on Japan, And I asked this, I never knew what a hydrogen bomb was. And this one kid in the outfit, he was a chemical engineer, and he explained it to me, but I knew less after he explained it to me what it was. But after Okinawa, they took us to China. The Japanese were still in China for the surrender. After they surrendered, they took them out and put them in camps, and it was pretty good duty in China. We were housed in the Dutch-Netherlands legation. It was a compound there where the Dutch had been before, and across the street was the old former American embassy, in China. And all we did was guard duty, and we had liberty, and they had nice food. It's not like the Chinese food here. It's a lot different, I'll tell you that. They used to go in a restaurant and they'd bring you a bunch of ducks already dressed. You choose a duck, and they'd go and make it for you right there. And they had nice hotels there. And in fact, I bought some silk pajamas one time for her mother. I don't know what ever happened to them.
We've got them.
Huh?
We've got them.
And after China, duty was real good. And after, let's see, I was there for about almost a month and a half. And one day the captain comes up and says, "Fedman, turn in your gear. You're going home." I had more points. I was over there for 3 years and 2 months. I had more points than anybody in the whole outfit, you know. So they said, "Turn in your gear." And he said, "You know, if you re-enlist, I'll make you sorry." Forget it. I was a corporal. I said, "Forget it." So I turned in my gear that night, and they put me aboard a train, and he shipped me to Tientsin to catch a boat. I got on that boat, and boy, I'm telling you, all the way home, there was a storm. And we finally got to San Diego after the boat ride. And they took us to Camp Pendleton for, and in Camp Pendleton, I was there at Camp Pendleton for about 2 weeks. And they took us back to San Diego for discharge. And after I was discharged, I got through that gate so fast, I got a train back to Omaha. And I think the train was so packed, I think I had to stand half the way home. All day just sitting, And I got home, I called my folks, and they came to meet me at the Union Station. I forgot, I think it was snowing. And they came, they had two of their friends, they didn't have a car. They came by streetcar. And I remember my brother Benny, my younger brother Benny, and Louis, my brother, other brother Louis, he was in the army in Europe. And Louis, he was wounded. He was the only survivor. He got a direct hit on a half track. He was the only survivor on that half track. And I remember he said they sent me to the French Riviera for rehab. He said it was really nice there. And he was my other brother. Louis is deceased now. But he was really a nice brother. And I remember my other brother, Benny, he was in the Korean War. So all three of us was in the service. Can you imagine how my folks felt? Have three people in the... But we all made it. And Louis had, he married a girl named Betty Lou Snyder. And he worked for Micklin for years. And he contacted lung cancer. But he had that cancer for almost 25 years. He passed away, it'd be about 4 years now. 4 years now. And those were good times. But I still have a brother, Benny. He lives with his daughter out on 132nd. Kathy Zalkin, Zalkin, Steve Zalkin. I came home and Ida and I used to write to each other during the service, whenever I got a letter. And she used to send me cookies. By the time they got there, they were petrified. The mail wasn't too good then. And I got home in 46, and we got married in June the 9th, 1946. and we got married in the old Labor Lyceum on Cummings Street. Remember the old Labor Lyceum? It was just a small wedding. It was on a Sunday, June the 9th. And we couldn't find an apartment. We lived with her folks about a couple of weeks, and we finally found an apartment on 29th in Jackson. It was upstairs, and that's where my first daughter, Phyllis, was born. And I remember it was, I remember it was a snowstorm that night, and I didn't have a car. My brother Louis had a car, and he said, I said, you better keep your chains on. So about that night, she was ready to go to the hospital, and Louis came and got her, and we took her to the old hospital on 29th and Dewey, the old, what is it, Lutheran? Yeah, 20, and Phyllis was born the next day. And finally we lived there for not too long, and we found this house here, and we moved in. It was, I forgot. I've been here for about, since 1949. And Phyllis was 1 year old when we moved in here. And Phyllis, she taught school for a long time. Now, Linda was born here. She was born in the old, what is it, Methodist down here on Cummings Street. I remember I was working that day, and I had a next door neighbor, Henry Stern. Remember, you know Henry? Henry and Al. And I think Henry took Ida to the hospital, and they called me at work, and I went. Finally, I got there, and Linda was born. And I worked for Parker Heating for 15 years. And after I left Parker, I worked for Home Comfort Engineering for 12 years as heating and air conditioning. And after that, I left them and I worked for Airway Heating for 3 years. And a job came up as a mechanical inspector for the city. So I took the test and I got the job, and I was with the city for 11 and a half years. And I retired I was 65 in 1989. I've got 2 grandchildren, Julie and Amy. And Julie, she's a sweetheart, and Amy, she called me every Sunday. And Amy, she's a little honey. Julie lives in, where is that neighborhood?
Field Club.
Field Club neighborhood, an old house. She loves it. And Amy, she lives on the lake, in Carter Lake. And they're both married. I got 2 great grandchildren, Ruby and Max. Oh boy, they're really something. And that little Ruby, she's a handful. How old is Ruby?
She's 4.
4. Ruby is 4 and Max is 8. And they found a little duck, a baby duck, and the duck is it's a little wild duck. It couldn't fly, so they're raising a little duck for it, and that little duck follows them around like that was their mother, and they put it in the lake, and it comes back and follows them back, and it's really cute.